Hello, welcome to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Kate Harper of the 61st District in Montgomery County. Pennsylvania's new governor, Tom Wolf, has presented his first budget address to the House and Senate. The governor's plan is complicated and suggests new taxes and higher taxes as well as lower taxes in some areas. It was the first picture of his governing priorities and provides the legislature with a starting point to begin the budget process. So, my guest for today is deeply involved in that process. Representative Bill Adolph chairs the House Appropriations Committee and also wears another hat as chairman of the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, or PHIA. We'll be talking about both of those topics today on the show. Representative Adolph, welcome.
Nice to be here, Kate.
You know, Bill, I like to let my viewers know a little bit about my guests, and I could tell them that you're a certified public accountant from Delaware County, but what would you tell them about your background and how you got to be where you are today?
I'd be glad to. I'm a partner in a small accounting firm, about 6 or 7 people, specializing in tax preparation and accounting and auditing for small businesses. That's professionally, okay? Married, 3 grown boys. I'm now pop-up to 5 kids, which is nice. 4 girls, 4 girls and 1 boy. Started in politics or public life, whatever you would like to call it, as a township commissioner in Springfield, Delaware County, okay? Right off the Blue Route.
That would be the other Springfield to us in Montgomery County.
I'm very familiar with the other Springfield because my mail at one time used to go up there before it got down to Delaware County. But, you know, my accounting practice is in a little business area in Springfield. I live in Springfield, grew up in Springfield. I represent the 165th Legislative District, which is all of Morton Borough, which is part of Springfield School District, Marple Township, and about half of Radnor Township. Radnor Township is a large township of a little over 30,000, and I represent about 16,000 in Radnor Township.
So it seems as though your suburban Philadelphia district in Delaware County is similar to mine in Montgomery County.
I would think so. I would think so. We have a good percentage of our working folks that go into Center City on a daily basis to work, use public transportation, whether it be trains or trolleys and the L. Okay, we have very busy areas. We have a big mall like your area. We have Baltimore Pike, Westchester Pike, and Lancaster Avenue. So pretty main. And then we got the Blue Route going right through the whole district.
Okay, we have that in common too. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the budget and how it's going to impact, how it would impact if it gets passed the way the governor has suggested it. You know, districts like ours, suburban Philadelphia places. So basically, how big's the Pennsylvania budget? And unlike Congress, we balance it every year, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, that's the most important thing. Whether you like the budget, whether you don't like the budget, every Pennsylvania budget that is passed is balanced. And you balance it by having enough revenue to pay your expenses.
So we don't pass a budget where the revenue projections don't equal the expense projections.
That's absolutely correct.
And that would be familiar to people because they know that their townships and boroughs and even their school districts operate on a balanced budget basis.
Yes.
So between now and June 30th, when we're supposed to get this done, what are we going to be doing to try to get a budget for Pennsylvania?
Well, a week after the governor proposed his budget, the House Appropriations Committee holds 3 weeks worth of hearings. And they're public hearings where each cabinet member, whether it be the Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of Human Services, Secretary of Corrections, Secretary of Ag, State Police, Chancellor of the State Higher Education System, Penn State, Temple, Lincoln, Pitt. Everyone comes in, just like your townships do. You bring in your department heads, we bring in our department heads. We do it with it's televised through every day by PCN, and we ask those type of questions. How many employees do you have? How many vacancies do you have? What's the cost of the pension? What is the cost of health benefits? What are your new projects? What are you going to do to cut cost? And those are the type of questions that we ask, and we have their individual budgets for their departments in front of us. And
go over everything.
We go over everything. We go over everything. And some of the hearings at times can last literally three hours, okay, for one department. I know Human Services, which is the largest department as far as money being spent, always lasts 2.5 to 3 hours.
Well, let's talk about that. A lot of people are surprised to hear that we spend a lot of money on education and human services. Those are the two biggest parts of our budget, aren't they?
Without a doubt, Kate, the spending pie chart, which I like to use because I think your constituents can see it. Okay, here's the Governor Wolf's proposed budget, $33.8 billion.
That's
right?
a B, billion.
That's a B. 41% of that budget, or $13.7 billion, is pre-K to 12 education.
What's
okay?
that? What's the percent again? 41%.
41%.
Okay.
Okay. Human Services, which I just talked about, okay, is now $11.9 billion, or 35%.
So we're talking about 75% of our budget goes into those two big areas, human services and education.
Add higher ed in, Kate, and you hit 80%.
Okay.
Higher ed is 1.8 billion, or 5%.
Okay. We actually, well, I guess most of our education money does go through K through 12, right?
Without question.
But
yes.
but some of the others. All right. So what are human services? What are we talking about there?
Well, it's a big department, but mainly it's taking care of the elderly, the disabled, and our children. The most vulnerable population in Pennsylvania. Nursing homes, hospitals, home daycare, okay, adult daycare, okay, and it's very, very expensive. And you know, Kate, if you ever had elderly grandparents or parents, and the amount of money that is spent, you know, in their last couple years of life,
Sure.
okay, that's what it's all about.
All right. And so at both ends of your life, we are devoting millions and millions of dollars to education on the one hand and human services on the other.
It's a good way to look
Billions,
at it.
maybe, I guess.
80% of Governor Wolf's proposed budget.
All right. So let's talk about, where does it come from? What's the chart for where the money comes from? And that might change because the governor's proposed a different funding mechanism.
Yes, this is just a proposal, okay? This is just a proposal. Personal income tax. A lot of people call it PIT, personal income tax. But this proposal is a 3.7% income tax.
Well, what are we paying now?
3.07. So Governor Wolf's proposal is about a 21% increase. I know the numbers sound very similar, 3.07 current, 3.7 proposed, 21% tax increase.
So whatever your bill was last year, if this budget passes, it's going to go up by 21%.
That's correct. Simple math, $100,000, okay, about $700 increase.
$700 increase?
Increase.
Okay.
Yes.
So where else will the money come from?
Well, The next largest is sales and use tax, okay, 34%. 34%. And this here, sales and use taxes, currently 6% on products being sold at the retail level, okay, with the exception of food and clothing. Under Governor Wolf's proposal, he's increasing the rate of tax from 6% to 6.6%, and he's also expanding the products. Probably another additional, Kate, maybe 200 products plus services.
Wow.
For example, the product that comes to mind immediately in my mind, I start off my day, I like the newspaper. I like the newspaper. Newspapers and their advertising inside that newspaper will now be subject to sales tax at 6.6%. You get a haircut, you go to the beauty parlor, okay? You now have to pay a 6.6% sales tax. All services, you go to your attorney, okay, to get your will prepared. That will be now subject, that fee that attorney charges, to a non-business client. And when you go get your will, it's not a business transaction, it's a personal legal matter, okay, subject to 6.6%.
What about, my mother was in a nursing home for a while. Taxable?
It would appear so. We're trying to get all this ironed out, but as we speak today, it appears that those services will be subject to 6.6% sales tax.
All right, that's the governor's proposal.
That's correct.
Now, the legislature doesn't have to adopt that, do they?
No. That's what the hearings are all about. That's what town meetings are all about. That's what letters to editors are all about. And to get a feeling. This proposal by Governor Wolf increases taxes in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in the next fiscal year by $4.7 billion. And there's other...
Sounds like a very big percent of what we're already paying.
16% increase. 16% increase.
Wow.
It's the largest tax increase proposal in Pennsylvania history.
But in defense of the proposal, if you will, the governor is also promising more money to schools. Is it worth it? I mean, should we do it to get the more money for the schools?
If the schools all receive the same amount of money, I think would be a tougher decision to make. But what we do as legislators, we first take a look at our own individual school districts.
Sure.
Pennsylvania, like all other states, distributes the education funding that they receive based upon formulas. Obviously, the wealth of the school district, the people living there, matters.
Well, I have to say, although school board members know this, your average citizen doesn't realize that, at least for districts like yours and mine, we pay for most of those schools at home with property taxes and earned income taxes.
I would say 80% of our school budgets, Kate, and I'm using that, and some are higher and some are lower, but 80% of the suburban districts in Philadelphia, okay, 80% of the budget is paid by local property taxes.
So do we know whether how the governor proposes to hand out the extra money that would be raised by all these new taxes or increased taxes?
As we speak today, our staff is working on that, and we'll have that breakdown. However, we don't have that for this show.
Okay, so we will, by the end of June, I guess, everybody in the legislature will know how the budget proposal will affect their taxpayers and their schools.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they're going to be able to compare they're going to be able to compare how much is leaving their district in state income tax and how much is coming back in increased revenue. And
they should tell us how they feel about it so that we can make smart decisions on their behalf, right?
Without question. And because that's what the process is all about.
It's representative democracy.
Yes.
We'll hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. Legislative Report will return in just a moment with my guest, Representative Bill Adolph. We're talking about the budget, but we're also going to talk about college education because Bill serves on the FIA board, and we'll be back. Stay with us.
Did you know that the chamber of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives contains a painting depicting the 24 hours of the day? Located in the center of the ceiling, the mural, titled The Hours, was created by artist Edwin Austin Abbey. This wonderful masterpiece charts the setting of the sun, moon, and the many stars that grace the heavens. 24 maidens, who each represent an hour of the day, begin each day in light and gladness and ends in solemn drapery carried on still shoulders. Now you know. Did you know that Act 16 of 1999 honors one of the greatest leaders in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives? The Matthew J. Ryan Legislative Office Building, once known as the Capitol Annex, is located next to the main Capitol building and honors the late Speaker of the House, Matthew J. Ryan. Those who visit this building will observe the magnificent architectural designs providing eloquence and grandeur to the building. Known as one of the greatest members in the history of the Pennsylvania State House, Matthew Ryan started his career in the legislature in 1963 and was elected Speaker in 1981. His charisma and knowledge will forever be reflected in the building now named after this great legislative leader. Now you know.
Welcome back to the program. I'm State Representative Kate Harper. My guest today is Representative Bill Adolph, a certified public accountant who chairs the House Appropriations Committee and is also president of the board of FIA?
The title's chairman.
Chairman, sorry, okay.
Yeah, what's in the title?
That's right. Well, let's finish up our budget discussion. Let's talk a little bit about business taxes. And I hear about this Delaware loophole. A loophole sounds like a bad thing. In fact, I thought we had closed it a few years ago, but apparently not. What's that all about?
Well, what Governor Wolf is proposing in his budget as far as revenue is concerned, currently, Kate, Pennsylvania has the highest corporate net income tax rate in the nation, 9.99%. And that is on what they call C corporations. It's a sub-chapter in incorporated.
Those are the big ones.
Okay.
They're not the ones where the sole proprietor incorporates, right?
That's correct. Most of the corporations in Pennsylvania are S corporations, and that income is a pass-through entity, and the shareholders of the corporation pay the Pennsylvania income tax on that.
On their own returns.
That's correct. But the C corporations are paying at a rate of 9.99%. Now.
Well, they're supposed to be, aren't they all headquartered in Delaware? Isn't that the problem?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. What the governor is proposing is to decrease the rate of tax over a period of years down to half of that. So the corporation, that's a C corporation in Pennsylvania that does all their business in Pennsylvania, really benefits from this proposal. No question about that. However, some of our largest employers in Pennsylvania are national companies.
Or multinational.
That's correct. There's a provision in our law that we're only taxing them on Pennsylvania business. Combined reporting now brings all that income into the Pennsylvania tax return. And a lot of the companies, even though that we are lowering the state rate by 50%, they will actually end up paying much more. So in the business community right now, Kate, under the Governor Wolf's proposal, there's a divide, okay? Those that only do Pennsylvania business versus the multi-state corporation.
Okay, but is it fair to do that? Because suppose I'm Merck and I have one big headquarter right in Montgomery County and another one in Jersey. Would I be paying both of those states'
Yes.
taxes?
You'll
Is that
be paying-
fair?
That's why you get elected, to make those decisions. We have closed a lot of what they call the Delaware loophole. Delaware meaning the state of Delaware.
Not your county.
Not
But
the
you'd
county.
love that,
No,
wouldn't you?
because
Okay.
we are the good government county.
Okay.
Okay. But the state of Delaware is very cheap to incorporate, and they do not have a corporate net income tax, and they do not have a capital stock and franchise tax. So a lot of Pennsylvania corporations, as well as New Jersey corporations, incorporate in the state of Delaware in order to avoid those type of taxes. And they pay less taxes as a result of that to Pennsylvania. However, we closed a lot of that up, and I think that has helped. We have to figure out whether we want to go with the Wolf proposal.
Well, can they do it the way we do it with like trucks, where the taxes are apportioned among the places that they go?
It's all part of the debate.
Okay, so it's something we're going to have to work out and figure out how to write the law in the way
That's
that we
correct.
get a consensus on.
That's correct. But I think, generally speaking, it does not help attract businesses in Pennsylvania when we have the highest corporate net income tax.
I absolutely understand and agree with that.
So that I think we're in agreement on.
And we want to keep the jobs here, so we don't want to chase the businesses away that are providing the jobs.
Some of our largest employers, Kate, do business outside the state.
All right, well, on that note, which is up in the air, I guess,
Yes.
let's go to the other topic I wanted to talk to you about, and that's higher education.
Yes.
Now, I know that you are chairman of the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, known as FIA. That's
Right.
with a P,
That's
like
correct.
Phillies, right?
Correct.
What does FIA do, and how can it help people whose children or grandchildren are getting ready to go off to college?
FIA was created by the state legislature back in 1963. And at that time, their sole purpose was to distribute taxpayers' money for grants for Pennsylvania kids to go to college in Pennsylvania. That was their sole purpose, to make higher education more affordable and accessible for Pennsylvania residents to go to Pennsylvania schools, whether they be state system schools, state-related schools, privates, or community college.
Okay.
That is their mission.
They still do that?
Yes, they do.
But I think they do a lot more.
They do a lot more. They do a lot more. Over the years, FIA organized and went into the student loan business. They are no longer in that business. They are now in what is called servicing student loans for banks and for the federal government.
So they don't make the loans, but they send you the bill to pay it back, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have call centers throughout the Commonwealth where a student borrower will apply for a student loan, and the FIA employees, and there's about 3,000 of them statewide,
Okay.
Go through the interview, about financial information, and set up the student loan for you and how you're going to pay it back.
Through a bank. So you don't go to the bank, you go to FIA? Or how's that work?
The bank already lending the money.
Okay.
We are now making arrangements for collecting that. So we get a fee for collecting and servicing those student loans.
And what do you do with that money? Since I'm sure I'm paying some of it on my son's loans.
Okay. Our mission is to put Pennsylvania kids in Pennsylvania colleges. In the last few budgets, we've taken $91 million a year
Wow.
out of our earnings and put it towards those state grants.
So 91 million, that's not taxpayer money, it's money FIA earned.
That's correct.
And that's available for state grants.
That's absolutely correct.
And that's going to be based on your financial situation,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
The FAFSA, I remember filling out a FAFSA.
Yeah. Kate.
Need better name for that, Bill.
Yeah, the state, it's a federal program, so,
okay.
you know, that's going to remain the same for a while. But most of the state grant programs for many years, if your income reached $82,000, you were almost eliminated from qualifying for a state grant, a FIA grant, unless you had 4 kids in college at one time. Just recently, last year, a bill that you supported and helped get through started to a Ready to Succeed grant. And this is for families that earn above $82,000 to $110,000.
Okay, there'll be a lot of middle-class 2 earners in our districts.
Absolutely. Last year, we budgeted an additional $5 million for that program. There's a proposal now to increase that to $15 million, and I think it's a good proposal, and I think the middle-class student and their families are putting it to good use. And
so are these grants or loans?
Grants.
Grants, so they don't have to pay them back?
No. No,
okay.
And it starts your sophomore year. It's a little different than the regular FIA grant. It starts your sophomore year, and in order to qualify, you have to have a 3.2 GPA.
So these are the kids who are going to succeed. They're in, they're going to stay in, they're going to get through.
Yeah, and actually, and I agree with you. But the profile of a FIA grant recipient statewide is a pretty good student. And the percentage of them that do graduate are very good with the student grants. Very good. I think most legislators, Kate, will be proud of their students that were receiving FIA grants.
Okay, and so for information about FIA, we'll be putting the website up so people could just go to the website. I don't know anybody of the generation going to college that can't use a website, so that's the way to start, right?
You're right. FIA.org will get you there to just about anything that you need. They help you because a lot of times this is the first generation college student, and parents are nervous about it. This website will walk you through that process.
Okay, so that's something. When should you do that? When you're a junior in college, senior? High school? When's a good time to start?
Well, you can always learn about it anytime in high school. If you know that you're going to go to college, you should go on their website almost immediately and start looking at it.
Okay.
See what you need to organize. See what type of incomes you're talking about. Okay, and but the earlier you can do it, your senior year. Sometime in January, February, because that's when those applications are due. And
okay, so if you're watching this show right now, you're late. Get to that FIA website.
Yeah, get to that FIA website is correct. You have to file your tax return for the most part, because a lot of those questions that they ask are pertaining to the tax return that you just filed.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for today's program. I'm State Representative Kate Harper. If you need assistance with any state government matter, feel free to contact me at my local address. The number will be shown in just a moment. Thanks for watching. Join me again for Legislative Report.